Welcome to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lachelle Weemy, a peak performance coach and business strategist dedicated to helping you see what's possible within you, the blind spots that are holding you back, and the solutions to ensure success and fulfillment without the hustle. I use my secret sauce of metaphysics, brain science, and scripture to work with God to manifest your ideal life and business. If you're ready to create massive forward momentum in your business and bust through the blocks that drag you down, join me on the Spiral Up journey and create the clarity, confidence, and consistency to become the CEO that lives your life by design. It's time to create the sustainable impact, income, and time freedom you desire faster. Now is the time to spiral up. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lachelle Weemy. And oh my goodness, you guys, we have a very special episode in store for you today. If you are tuning in on YouTube or Facebook and you can see our videos, you know that I am not alone in this episode. I have invited some of my very new besties in business and in life to our conversation today. These women are just some of the most beautiful inside and out women I've ever had the privilege of knowing. And we just got back from our amazing Dominican Republic Becoming Experience retreat. And I asked the gals to come on in, first of all, because I missed them. I mean, it's been a couple of days since we've seen each other and it's like I'm already having withdrawals, right? But I also just wanted to give our listeners on the podcast a chance to kind of hear some of the behind the scenes stuff and just allow for them to kind of get a peek into what it was like for us to hang out in beautiful paradise and the things that we learned, the things that we experienced together, and just the synergy that we experienced. And I thought, well, what the heck? Let's make this official. Let's add it to the podcast. So glad you guys are here. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's awesome.
Okay, Dr. RG, why don't you tell us quickly, like, who you are, what you do, all the things, just so that people can get a sense of who the heck you're listening to tonight.
Okay, Dr. Arginelle Nichols. I am a university professor teaching leadership. I also use Dr. Lachelle's brain science to help my coaching clients. I do financial leadership, and someone once termed me the female version of Dave Ramsey, but you know,
you're more than that.
I'm better looking than Dave Ramsey. Okay, so I am a coach with Dave Ramsey, but I put my personal spin on things, and my joy is helping women leave a financial legacy. And so tuning that in with your brain science, it just works.
It totally does. And I'm so glad that you're here, girl. And I'm so grateful that you said yes to this retreat because it's been a hoot getting to know you. You are a multifaceted woman, and we're going to probably get into that organically in this show. Elsa, girl, I'm so glad you joined us on the retreat.
Oh, I am so super glad that I joined the retreat too. It was way more than I could have expected. It was a lot of fun.
So Elsa is a manager in nursing and is really just was excited to learn how she could expand her own potential in her corporate career and the way that you show up in all areas of your life. We just literally talked about that today. Like I market, you guys, like I market to entrepreneurs because let's just be real, like when you can write off a trip to paradise as a tax deduction for your small business, like it just makes sense, but it's definitely not for everybody that is just in business. Like this can be applied to anybody. So I just was so grateful that you were there. Molly, Dr. Molly, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, sister?
So, I'm Molly. I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner, and also an essential oil enthusiast. And I teach women how to use oils to serve their family and to help themselves, and to make life easier and better and more manageable.
It's so cool. So Molly was there, with us in person this year, but a couple of years ago, well, actually a year ago, I asked Molly to create a specific blend of essential oils for our participants of the retreat because I incorporate all things brain science into this experience. And I wanted them to have an olfactory sensation when they came, back home and were able to take themselves into the state of mind they were in at the retreat. And so she created this beautiful blend with for us last year. And then this year she was able to hand deliver it, which was so freaking amazing. And girl, you're so good at what you do. Yeah, it's called High Vibes. Yeah, so good, so good. And Jan Reed, oh my gosh, girl, like you're incredible. You were there as both, part of my team as a fellow coach, but also you were able to participate, and it was so fun to share that experience with you. Tell us a little about you.
I'm a retired teacher of like 30 years, and I just knew that there was more for me after I retired, and I became a life coach. And this has just been a journey for me. I mean, I get to help people, and now I get to work with Lachelle, which is even better. And then I still get to help people. So I loved this. I just loved it all. And I don't know, I was so happy to be part of this, because I think the best part was just meeting all these wonderful women. I mean, God, we gelled. That was so fun.
Yeah, it was so much fun. So what did you guys all think of the villa when we pulled up? Like, what was your first reaction when we pulled up to that property?
Well, I'll start, but I was so excited just to be there.
Yeah.
Off campus and away from students a few short days. But when we pulled up to that villa in such a beautiful, beautiful area, I probably should have closed my mouth because it was so pretty. And the front door was, a sculpted metal door. And I was like, we're about to walk into paradise. And sure enough, we did.
Yeah.
Not only just walking in the front door, like you said, RG, was impressive. But then once you walked into the house and you saw the views into the back, and I mean, in the morning it was beautiful. In the evening it was beautiful. I don't think there was ever a bad angle or a bad view looking out the back of the house to the ocean and just hearing the waves all day long.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, it was amazing, right? Like, we were literally right on the ocean. Like, if I would have spent any amount of money at a all-inclusive retreat, that room would have cost me thousands of dollars a night, because we were that close to the ocean, you guys. And I think that it's really fun because I don't know, there's probably something wrong with me, but I keep having to outdo myself each time. And I'm just like, okay, so now what can I do? Now where can we go? And Jan, you've been on a couple of these. This is your third one, actually.
It is.
And so did you kind of get that sense all right, yep, we're leveling up?
You definitely raised the bar on that one. It was just amazing. And when we took the tour, I was just like, wow. There wasn't anything I did not like about that place. It was beautiful. And we even had our meals made for us. Oh my gosh,
Right? Yeah.
What the heck? That's wonderful. Yeah.
And Molly, you are such a hard worker at home. And one of the things that this villa did was, was able to transport all of you guys into this space of what your life could be, and allowing yourself to immerse yourself in the future version of yourself and what's possible, and dream a little bit bigger. Did you experience that just in the location itself?
I did. Yeah. I think, what I was thinking about with my first reaction to the villa itself, everything that everyone has said. And also it was so beautifully decorated that it tied in nautical themes without being overly beachy inside.
Yeah.
And it was just really beautiful. I think for me, it just, in terms of broadening my perspective, just the possibility that this is spaces the spaces that I imagine actually do exist in the world. It's just a matter of finding them and being willing to go to them. So.
Right. I mean, I grew up, my mom and dad didn't even own a home till I was 18 years old. So this kind of vacation, this type of a property, for me to be in a place like this and not feel super uncomfortable, felt like a pipe dream for me. Mm-hmm. And this is now my reality. I get to go on these every couple of months, and it's just blowing my mind. What else did you guys experience as far as putting yourself into this place of possibilities? I'm just curious on what your perspectives were.
Well, I have to say that this was kind of a dream come true. Yeah. I'm a good old Arkansas country girl. I grew up on a beef cattle ranch, and to see the beauty, see the ocean. Now I've seen the ocean before, okay,
Yeah.
But not in that setting. And it was so pretty. It was so peaceful. And it was when you walked through that front door and just kept looking right on out to the ocean.
Yeah.
It was like such peace just came over you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was the perfect place for this retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you guys want to go on this retreat? I'm just curious. Like, I want to hear the real answers. What's going on here? Tell me.
I've already told you my reason was to get away from the stress on campus and a little break from my students. Don't get me wrong, I love my students, but just so happens I have 320 of them this semester, and that's a little bit of an overload.
Yeah. And I mean, aside from getting away from your students, like, what was about this particular retreat? I'm curious. Like, why not just go on a vacation to Mexico?
Well, for starters, you were the hostess, and I needed to pick your little brain a little bit, and well, you just let it flow, so I didn't have to pick it. But I'm going to be honest with you. The most important thing to me was meeting the other ladies and the friendships, the connections that we made. I will have friends for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I know where all of you live, so I see you. But it was absolutely wonderful, the connections that we made.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also proved to myself at almost 70 years old that I could still ride a horse.
Yes, you could still ride a horse, and you did a dang good job with that too. And that was one of the things. So I decided this time around to invite everybody to the villa a day before the actual retreat started, in case they wanted to come a day early. And I offered an excursion that I was interested in, which was horseback riding, and we hiked to a waterfall. And everybody was like, all right, I'm game. We're coming early too. And we're going to do this thing. And it was so much fun because we got to bond before we even started to learn a little bit. And it was, an unexpected synergy that, each one of these retreats ends up with this beautiful blossoming of relationships. But this one seemed to be like on steroids, honestly. Like, you guys all clicked really, really fast, and we became very fast friends. Don't you think?
100%. I feel like, so for me, being in a group of women like that, I haven't experienced that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes that can be kind of intimidating, I think. And but for me, oh my gosh, it was just being in this group of women. It wasn't like we all just met each other. It felt like we had known each other for a long time. It was just so easy. And we had talked about this at the end of the retreat, like just the sense of like love and support among this group of women that was just so like freely given. That's something I haven't experienced, and I was so appreciative and continue to be so grateful for it, because I think you guys are amazing. You guys are amazing.
I mean, there's some, go ahead, Molly. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, going back to the question that you originally answered or asked, about like why be there, why was it special, and I think that is like and like the future version was really like being in a space of like-minded women, and a lot of us. But also like not so many of us that my introvert self died. Like it was the right combination and the right energy, and the right number. And that really helped me see a broader vision for what I'm creating in terms of like, no, it's possible. I'm not just dreaming of something that can never be, because here it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's so. Anybody else have anything to say about that?
I since I've been on some before, I always have kind of an expectation that something great is going to happen.
Yeah. And
it could be just one little thing. It could be a lot of things. It was a lot of things. It always is. The timing of it was perfect. And Lachelle and I had talked about it, as I'm approaching my husband's date of death, I don't know, I was just talking to my daughter today, and we're just handling it so well. And me too, and I think being on that retreat really helped me a lot, just knowing too, talking about this. And as you guys were speaking about the camaraderie that we felt, the whole time we were talking about that, I just kept getting waves of like love. Just great. Just now, I had a lot of the time when I was there, but even now, and even now as I'm speaking, it's still here. I just thought, wow, that was so huge, knowing that there were these, amazing women, and we have quite an age group there, but it didn't matter. We just all gelled. We just fit, and I loved that. And I made great friends, and I know, Argy, you and I had a really good time just chatting and getting to know each other. And I totally appreciated that. I was hoping that I'd get to know you better, and I did. So thank you.
That was one of the things that like emerged from this. I mean, clearly I come with a curriculum, like you guys got a binder with the workbooks, and we got a lot accomplished from the mindset place, but we also had enough time for downtime and for like chill time. We all got a photo shoot, we got a massage, we got coaching with Jan and I. And it was just like, you got all of that, and we got time to just chill, right? And I remember there was one night where we all just decided to go swimming, and we got some refreshments. We called them Coco Locos, which shout out to my friend Pam for the inspiration of our coconut water that had a little spike to it. But it was just so much fun because here we were in this pool, like singing and dancing to old songs that we knew from when we were kids. And it was like, this was for me the first time in a very long time that I just was having a really good time, but probably the first time that I could ever really say, you guys, that I felt like I could be all of me. And it was like, I could bring out my nerdy, like quantum physics and my brain science and my personal development. And I can geek out and say that everything's perfectly perfect, like for the 30,000th time for the day. Right. And I can, show off my, 100% knowing all of the lyrics to, my Salt and Pepper songs, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, I got to be me, and we got to see Molly's amazing sense of humor. Like she's freaking cracking me up nonstop. Artie's like, oh, and by the way, I have a law degree, like it's just randomly like new things that we would learn about her.
And she's a broker.
And she's this, and she's that, and it was just like, it was so much fun because I felt like all of us were given this permission to let all of ourselves out in a safe place. And I feel like as women, that's really hard. And one of the things that I found, and I don't think any of you guys are going to mind me sharing this, but there was a theme every single time I met with somebody for their one-on-one coaching, that the theme really just brought out all of our longing for worthiness and our longing for acceptance as we are. And holy crap, like I have goosebumps right now because it was like, you guys didn't talk to each other, and I brought you, into a subconscious healing treatment essentially. And it was a thing that kept coming out for all of us. And so it was like, all of us were longing for this, and God literally delivered this worthiness in a way of friendships and relationships and authenticity and vulnerability. And I don't know, give me your thoughts on all of that.
Yes. 100% agree. I speaking for myself, I mean, that's absolutely one of the things that came up when I was talking with you. And after some of that, just talking with some of the other women and hearing some different things, it's like I would hear some of the same things. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we're all kind of feeling this way. And to me, it was like, wow, because I feel like a lot of the women that were in this group are very accomplished. And so the fact that they had some of those same kind of feelings just blew me away, But I guess it just means we all have those times and whatnot. But yeah, as you're saying, like to be in a group where we all were accepted for who we were, and it just really shows that we are worthy of these relationships, right? We are worthy of being seen. We are worthy of friendships, of love, of all the things. It's just pretty cool. And I don't know, maybe this is just a different side note, but sometimes you go to these types of things, and then when you get home and you get off the plane, it's kind of like the magic is still where it was, right? It doesn't come home with you necessarily. But I have to honestly say that I do feel like I carried it home with me. I do feel like a different person, and I know that sounds a little cliche, and I don't mean it to, but I will say that there's been a shift in perspective for me. And the really cool thing I think about it is that even my kids have noticed that and have picked up on it and commented about it in a very positive way. And for me, that's just confirmation that, this is legit. That there are possibilities, and this is a really awesome thing.
Yeah, I know. It's like we were sitting around the campfire the other night, and Elsa's teenage son is like, "Yeah, I don't know what you did to my mom." And she's like a completely different person. And I'm like, "Tell me more about that." Like, and he was just laughing, but she's like, "Oh my gosh, she's just like she's happy. She just I don't know, like there's just this joy that
Yep.
is coming from my mom." And like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool," because you've always had it, and it was just like this amplification of who you
Yep.
are, and your voice picked up on it. And that's pretty dang cool. Molly, you were shaking your head to that. I want to know what your thoughts are.
Well, I think with the theme of worthiness, like
Yeah.
the particular thing that you and I walked through is something that I've done work on in the past, but not to the depth that we did.
Yeah.
And I think unearthing that was really powerful in 1,000 different ways, but also like coming home and having my world turn 180 degrees within 6 days. Having a new sense of worthiness is really important, because like going into foster care needing worthiness from a child is not fair. And so being able to just love him.
Ooh, girl.
Sorry. It's not worthiness for me. It's his worthiness, like teaching him that he's worthy and that he didn't do anything wrong. And however long he's in this house, he will be loved.
So background for you guys listening. So Molly, one of her big things that she's been thinking about preparing for, but hadn't quite pulled the trigger on yet, was to open up her house for a foster child. And we were able to talk some about that while we were there. And she just was like, all right, I'm ready. Like we get home on early Monday morning, and I'm going to open my bed to a child on Tuesday. And girl, like I happened to be on a Zoom call with you when you got the call from DCS, and I'm like sitting here trying not to cry because they're like, okay, well, can you pick this child up tomorrow from the hospital? And I'm like, oh, like I get to witness this. And here you are, like, this is something that you've been thinking about for a long time. And here you are, like, this is your reality right now.
Yep. And he's sleeping. So that's why he's not here with us.
Oh my gosh. So it's just so amazing, so many things that I get to celebrate with you guys going forward, and that we get to celebrate, with one another. And it's amazing because that worthiness piece is huge. It's so huge. Right. And so one of the things that I did differently this time around, because like I said, I can't just leave things alone. Like God gave me this curriculum, but then he lets me like play with it a little bit. And so I was able to do something a little bit more intimate and in depth with each of the people. So this time what we did was we really focused on the 4 things that are necessary to manifest. And the third part of manifesting is that you have to be able to believe without doubt that it's on its way to you. And what I wanted to do was allow for each of the participants to be able to share, a part of their heart that is blocking them from being able to fully realize that this is on its way to you, that God has promised us these things, and that we just get to say thank you, Papa, and just expect that it's on its way with this beautiful, like, just knowing that he's promised it, right? And so I was able to do coaching for each one of you guys, but we did something really cool and special. We actually did coaching in the pool. And one of the things that they got in their swag bag from me was a little floaty. It's just like 2 little floaty things with a net. And we sat on these floaties in the pool, and they were trusted me enough to close their eyes for, an hour essentially, while we took them through this subconscious block treatment, and were able to birth a new truth. And I don't know about you guys, from my perspective, it was freaking powerful as heck. What about you guys? Like, I want to know like what your thoughts were.
Oh, absolutely. I got rid of that block that I've had for years, and I haven't stopped smiling. I came home on a high. I still have it. Even my students noticed a difference, and all I was doing was grading their papers, so maybe I gave them better scores. But I'm not coming off that high. So thank you very much for just pulling it out of me and throwing it away.
Yeah. I mean, was it scary, like, to sit in the pool with your eyes closed and just trust that I had you?
No, because I completely trusted you.
Aw.
Now, had you ducked me under the water, things might have been different, but no.
Right? We never got that far. No. Oh my gosh. We've had some really cool, other memorable experiences. One of my best, memories, my favorite memories, is when we were on our walk. So every day we would go for a walk. Do not spill the beans, guys, because if anybody wants to come, we don't want them to know what the walks are all about. But we were on the walk, right? And it started to rain, like when we were about the furthest point we were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we just decided, like, okay, well, let's just, stand underneath this tree. And Camille was able to ask a question that was able to give her like the direction exactly that she needed. So like that time was perfectly ordained for her, right? Perfectly perfect. We could make fun of me because I said that a lot as part of just, what I wanted to drive home. And then we decided to start walking back with, it's just lightly sprinkling. And then there was first a double rainbow. So 2 rainbows, which I've never seen in person before.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kept walking, and then there was a full rainbow. Like you could see both ends of the rainbow hitting the water in front of us. Like it was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And we would never, ever have experienced that had we, had it not rained, and had we not gone out when we did. And all of the things, just reaffirming that perfectly perfect message was really fun. Did you guys find, like, I mean, that was one of our themes, right? That just kind of came out of this retreat. What were your thoughts around that?
It was kind of magical, if you want to use that word. Just all being together. And, what we learned, even though Camille asked the question, we all got something from that. And and it was so beautiful there. I remember looking up, and all those pine palms and stuff were there. And I was like, wow, it was beautiful. And then just that rainbow was so brilliant. And that's, to me, always a sign of something good.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think I've ever seen a rainbow like that, almost solid looking, in the color, and how it like just touched the water and almost looked like it was like in the water where it met the water. It was.
And what about the message of the perfectly perfect? That, I mean, God literally gave us rainbows to prove my point. So
there was more than one. I mean, we had several. And to your point, I mean, I think there were, we had an agenda, right? Of like, this is when we're going to go for a walk, and this is when we're going to have breakfast, and then this is when we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. But there were a few days where, maybe we're like one morning breakfast was ready early. So instead of going for our walk, we had breakfast first and then our walk. And it worked out wonderful that it happened that way, because we did miss walking in some rain, and we got a rainbow that day. So there were just, when we let go of like that control and that, well, this is how we had it set up, so this is the way we need to do it. When we let go of that, and if you were paying attention, you would see like, oh, this is how it should have went. This is, because you experienced something different. You had those confirmations.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that I wanted to share with these guys, is that when we are trying to manifest, if we try so hard to pigeonhole God into how we expect it to turn out, then we're going to miss out on all of the amazingness that he has in store for us. And so part of that beautiful knowing without doubt that it's on its way to us is also trusting in the how and not forcing the how, letting the how just reveal itself to us. And for us to just take one small step in trust at a time on our way to where he's leading us. And it was just like this really cool application day in and day out that we got to see that if we just let go of the control, right? And we just allow him to show us the even better ways that he wants to give it, then it's going to be better than what we planned. And I don't know about you guys, but once that really clicked with me, I felt like the weight of the world was now removed from my shoulders. Like I did not have all the pressure that I was putting on myself to force things, to make things happen, to try to control everything around me. When I just allowed for God to bring his part into the equation, I got to take some of that heaviness off. And now I get to enjoy life with way more peace, way more flow. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm going to tell you, I call those things God winks.
Yep.
And I think through that whole week and even coming home.
Yes, even coming home. Yes.
So here's the thing. We missed our flight. Well, I missed my flight. Molly, did you make yours?
I did make mine. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'm one of the few.
I think you were the only one that missed your connecting flight because we got in late for customs and yeah.
And it took forever for the suitcase to get there to recheck it. And I was just, I was floating up here. And a girl says to me, RG, you might not make your flight. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to make it. Yeah. Well, as soon as I said that, my flight was taken off and I was still trying to get through customs. But when I got up to where my gate was supposed to be, they had already rebooked me on the next flight that went out an hour and a half later. And I'm like, see, Lachelle.
Exactly. Shit just works out. I'm just going to say it. Shit just works out for me. Right. And that's what we had. That was the vibe that we really were embracing. And so it was so great. And I taught these gals too, some tips that they can use to ask God yes or no questions to help them to know where he's leading you. And RG's like, I got this. Like, I already know I'm going to get home tonight because of the things that she had learned. And I'm like, yeah, girl. Like,
yeah. So
I'm sorry. What I did tell y'all was when I did finally get back to Arkansas, and I was doing my little check-in. So it was like 1:00 in the morning, and I go out to the parking lot, and I'm like, I'm in L4, and I'm 4 spots over. I couldn't find my truck. So my niece lives 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
And I called her. I said, Jen, just come get me. I'm just too tired. Even if I could find the truck, I'm too tired to drive home, which was another two-hour drive. So I spent the night with her. Yes, she had to get up at 1:30 in the morning to come get me. And we were just cutting up and laughing the whole way. But I got some sleep. And so the next morning, she said, just take my daughter's car out and just drive through the parking lot. And well, you know where the truck was? L4 in spot 4. I'm like,
that's amazing though. Well,
we're on plan D for dork here. Anyway, we all got a good laugh out of it. I got some good sleep that I desperately needed. And then everything just worked out perfectly.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is just interesting. We're recording this. I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about, but this is so fascinating. So we're in line, right? And I teach these people this technique, right? And I'm like, okay, but you have to make sure that you test first. And I'm like, I feel like there might be a block. And I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, I said it to Jan, I go, I don't think she's gonna get home tonight. And I'm like, I don't want to tell her. And it's so funny because you didn't, but everything was good and it still worked out and it was perfectly perfect. So it's just funny. It's like everything just so interesting. Molly, what were you going to say? Because I know that you kind of were in a similar situation.
Yeah. Well, I did make it home that night and to my home. I didn't get my dog that night, but that's okay. But I think the purpose of me making it home was to prove to myself that muscle testing works. Because I needed that little bit of I'm a skeptic. I just am. That's that's me. And so I had muscle tested it in about, 10, 15 different ways. And everything just kept saying, you're going to get home. And so I was like, all right, well, we'll see. Um, and I refused to get anxious about it as I was like going through customs and rechecking and doing all of that stuff. And once I rechecked my bag and then had to go through the security again, there's no TSA pre-check at that point, so you're with the riffraff. And so I I'm trying to what's the fastest line? Like find the line. And so I picked a line, I think I was actually assigned to a line. But I go and the woman in front of me is just like, she's just like super mad and like fit to be tied. And that's fine. It is. And I just I'm not going there. I'm just not going to go there. And so I had my tote that said manifesting that shit on it. And the TSA guy pulled my bag out of line just so he could show people, show the other TSA workers the bag. This is so great, guys. I'm manifesting this shit out of this job. And meanwhile, I had gone through the metal detector, and I'm like, I love my stuff back. But I was like, I'm not going to get worked up about it. It's fine. He's not going to keep my stuff forever. And so then he's about to put my bag through, and he was like, can I take a picture of it? I was like, sure. At this point, whatever, man, whatever. Yeah. So he takes a picture, sends it through. And he was just the sweetest man. And he goes, where are you going? What's your flight? And we're screaming at each other across the metal detector. He's probably 15 feet back.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling him my flight number, and he was like, hold on, I'll look it up for you so you know exactly where you're going and you'll get there fast. And so I told him my flight number, and he was like, girl, you're running late. You're about to miss it. I was like, yeah, I know.
I need my bag.
Manifesting that shit.
So he was like, go this way and that way, and it's what, and he got me there super fast, and it was incredibly helpful. And it was just as I was sitting on the plane having boarded it, and then turns out there was there wasn't a mechanical problem with the plane. We didn't have an assistant, a second pilot. We were waiting for the second pilot to come, so we had time anyway, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm sitting on the plane, and I was just I think historically I would have been really annoyed by this interaction and just be like, can I just go? The woman in front of me who was just so mad, I was like, I can, I recognize that. But I would not have had, there's no way that guy would have been helpful. There's no way I would have been laughing in the midst of trying to catch the flight. And I was just like, yeah, this is great. Okay, cool. Yeah. This is just
I have goosebumps because that was step number one in manifesting, you guys, is to stay in high vibes. And we talked about the emotional vibrational scale, and we used, my software that I use for energy to keep our vibes high. And it was just that's what I want. I want you guys to be able to experience all of this when you get home. I want this to be your toolkit for when you get home, how you can actually show up a year from now and be like, yeah, I manifested that shit. And that's what I wanted for you guys, which is, partly why I created that swag bag with that bag in it, because it's this is what I want. So what are some of your favorite tools that you learned since, I said tools, what are some of the muscle testing was big for RG. Okay. Love it. What else? What else did you guys think?
Muscle testing was Slinky. Sorry, dinner time. Muscle testing was big for me too.
Yeah.
And the tones, I just am obsessed with the tones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, me too. Good. I'm so glad. What about you, Elsa? You were about to talk.
Yeah, well, so for myself, I feel like I'm kind of starting in this journey several steps behind a lot of the ladies that were at the retreat. and which is totally fine. It's great because then I can see what they're doing and I know what I can look forward to. But because of that, I feel like some of the tools for me, were probably a little different. Where like for me, this was an introduction to some of the visualizations and the journaling and the meditation, which I think a lot of the other women were probably are using those tools on a more regular basis, where for me it's like, yes, I've heard of them, but have I actually put them into a practice? No. And so just to see like, okay, this is how I can do it and this is how it can work, and yes, it does work, just connecting those dots with some of those fundamental tools was really impactful for me.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
the cards, drawing the
yeah,
cards every day.
the cards are cool, right? Because
Yes.
we have affirmation cards, and it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna pick a card
Got
today.
mine
Like,
too, RG.
yeah, like when you pray over it, when you pray over the experience, when you allow God to speak to you, and you're like, okay, Lord, what do I need to hear today? And you allow him to guide you, it's like, holy shit, like look at this card said today. People were in tears, like it was so cool. And that's just it. Like, it doesn't matter if you are a 7-figure business owner, because I have some of those come to my retreats, and I have people who are like just getting started, like, hey, Lachelle, how do I create a morning routine? It doesn't matter, because all of us are just on a journey of proving to ourselves what we're capable of, and allowing God to show us what we're capable of, and allowing us to continue to take that next level to where we can make a bigger impact in the world. It doesn't matter where you're at, right?
So
Can I share mine from this morning?
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So I have a little story with this because I did not draw mine first thing this morning. So the first thing that I did this morning was I did a workout with Lachelle and our other friend Sarah, and we were having a conversation afterward. And Sarah was talking about some of the things that she's thinking about doing and where she's feeling led. And as she was speaking, I was having feelings again, like back at like during the retreat, where it's like, I'm still new at this, where I'm like, I have no idea where I want to go with this. And that's okay. I feel like I need to build my foundation and my practice, and that will all come to me at some point. I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
And, but sometimes, those old habits where you got to have it figured out, right? Like that's as a nurse manager, I'm supposed to have things figured out, but learning that that's okay. And so sometimes it's hard for me to accept that not knowing, not having it figured out is okay. So I get home and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get my card. And on the back of it, it says, follow your heart, not the expectations of others. Have the courage to ask yourself, who am I, and embrace it. So I was like, wow, like, don't worry about what other people are doing. Don't worry about where they're at. It's, who am I? It doesn't matter who I am in relation to others or where others are at. Just embrace it and go with it. So I thought that was pretty powerful.
That's amazing. RG, you were going to say something. What were you going to say? That's so cool, Elsa. Thank you.
I'm going to tag on to what Molly said, because I've been very blessed. I've flown all over the world and been in almost every airport you can imagine. And I've been so stressed out over stuff. And usually the biggest stress would come for when you go through customs. And I was on such a high vibe when I went through there. The little guy said, ma'am, do you have anything to declare? And so my Southern accent and my stupid mouth, why, yes, sir, I do. I'm going to declare that you're going to have a wonderful day. And he started laughing. Any other time, I probably would have been thrown in jail or arrested. He started laughing.
Oh.
I said, honey, I don't even have a souvenir. I don't have a thing to declare other than your good day. He said, ma'am, go have yourself a good day.
Oh.
I love that so
when
much.
you travel with me, there's no telling what's going to come out of this southern mouth. So
I love that so much. And I feel like, every single one of these is literally a divine, beautiful appointment of who's supposed to be there. And that's why it's so fascinating, because like 80% of the people who come to my retreats now have been on them before. It's because people are like, all right, now I'm hooked. Where are you going next? And so it's like, I'm going to end up having to add a third, I think, because I'm going to need to make room for everybody. And it's so much fun, because we get to continue to grow, and we get to continue to learn, and we get to be ourselves. And I don't know, I'm so honored I'm so honored. What would you guys say to people who are like, okay, I've been hearing Lachelle talk about this. I've been, watching this stuff on Reels or whatever. Like, what would you say to people who've been kind of eyeballing some of this stuff?
Take a chance. Step out.
Yeah.
She's worth every second. So,
Aw, thanks, Argie.
I think it will be, the experience is going to be more than you anticipate or expect. You're going to get so much more out of it than you thought, or that you have to put the effort in, right? Like, you're going to get out of it what you put in. But for myself, Lachelle, you and I have had lots of conversations about this and about these different things, but to see it in action and to be able to connect those dots and just really see the possibilities, it's kind of mind blowing, So if someone's been watching you and they're like, yep, this is making sense, just do it, because you're going to be able to take it like 1,000 miles further.
Aw, I love that.
I'd like to say too, as it was my third retreat, and I find every time I have been there, I get something new from it. And Lachelle, just listening to you when you're speaking, and you have such heart, and I love how you present it. I'm sitting here the whole time you're talking, I'm nodding because I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. Oh yeah. And I love that. And I love that you add on to it every time. You keep making it better. And what I got from it this time, really, I was able to take home. I always am, but it's really, I just find myself being a little different this week. And not quite so stuck. I was feeling kind of in a stuck place, and now I'm kind of not, because first of all, that one thing, has a lot, because one thing doesn't mean just one thing. Everything else just seems to fall into place from that, and that has helped me a lot. And I just want to say thank you, because you never know what you're going to bring home from this. What's going to stick with you, and I appreciate your genius, because that's what I call you. I tell everybody, she's just such a genius, and you are. You really know how to make this an amazing event. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And what Jan's talking about is, I wanted people to be able to then take the fourth step of manifesting, which is to get in aligned action towards what it is that you want. And we practice something called the one thing, which really helped to break down all of the things that are going through our mind, right? And to really actually put it into practical steps. And so I'm so glad to hear that, because yes, we are multi-passionate people, aren't we? It's really easy for us to get overwhelmed. How about you, Molly? What would you have to say?
I think, so as someone who has like DIY'd her professional development for a long time, I think it is at the retreat, the way it's all woven together, you don't get that when you're DIYing it. You it doesn't click, in the cogs don't click in the same way. And so I think in terms of like all of the work that I have been exposed to leading up to the retreat was wonderful and helpful and beautiful. And also, having it be put together in like almost like a single thought. Like, these are not like 14 different concepts. This is the concept, and these are the components of the concept. I think that was really powerful, to really just see it all together.
Yeah. How do you guys think your life's going to be different now that you have gone on this? I'm just curious. Like, what's different?
well, I don't think I'm ever going to come down off this high vibe.
Aww.
You taught me how to get up there, and if I see myself slipping a little bit, I'm up here pulling that thing out. So
Yes. I'm glad.
I think it's just that reminder of letting go. Just, it doesn't have to be you. Let go of that control. Just let go, because the relief of that is so huge. And I don't know, that whenever I start feeling myself kind of thinking it's all about me taking care of it, I got to figure it out. And as soon as I go, well, wait a minute, no, I don't. It's already done. It's okay. And that's all I have to say.
I mean, all of us are high achieving, like driven women, right?
Mhm.
So this is not like, I mean, I'm not telling you guys to drink Coco Loco and float in the pool for the rest of your life and like things are, but it is definitely a different way of looking at life, right? Like just expecting that shit just works out.
Yep.
And acknowledging that this exact thing is perfectly perfect, even if it's not what I thought it was going to be, and allowing our consciousness and allowing God to take the load is so freeing. And I get to show up as my best self as I'm being led, right? Like it's so
Yeah.
fun. How about you, Molly or Elsa? How do you guys feel like you're different or will be
Go ahead,
different?
Molly. You go first.
I mean, I feel like Jan's thing is my thing. Like that control piece is massive for me. I mean, control is also like the name of my professional game, and so sorry, I think he's waking up. Yeah, so just like not being able to relinquish that control of just like, you know what, like I have deep faith. I've had deep faith in God for all of my adult life and much of my childhood too. And also just like, but bringing into that deep faith, and he will do it too. Not just he can.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Elsa, what about you?
Yeah, to me, this is like one of those things where once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? So like there's no going back because now you know there's a different way. And like for me, kind of along the same lines as what Jan and Molly were saying, with the control, but also recognizing that I was so stuck in like that logical thinking of my brain, right? Like, what is that? Like, sorry, there we go. Like this much of the brain, is our logical thinking, and there's how much beyond that. And for me, like being in that logical part of my brain, that's my safe space, because I can control more of that, right? But I'm definitely different now. Whereas it's like, no, I need to step out of that logical part of my brain and be open to just letting some things go, letting things happen, and just trusting that it will.
Yeah. Oh, it can feel scary, but it's so freeing
Yes.
now at the same time. It's just like, you guys, this has been so much fun, like just to get to see you. And I feel like we could talk for like the whole night, but I know that Molly has a sweet little one at her house that she can't wait to help. I know that for sure. And so you have to step away, girlfriend, like by all means, you go right ahead. But I just wanted to say that for you guys that are listening to this, if you're like, okay, I'm kind of curious about this, we'll make sure that you have access to the application to apply for the next retreat in the show notes so that you and I can meet. We can make sure that you're a good fit. And the sooner that we decide on that, the longer you have to pay for it. So let's go ahead and make that happen. The second thing that I want to also acknowledge is that it doesn't matter if you've been in this space for a really long time or if you're just getting started like Elsa, because I've created something called the Spiral Up Foundations, which are essentially, in my biased, maybe unbiased opinion, that God gave me this curriculum to help people because they're what I have seen over years and years and years of doing this. And in my own experience, the 7 things that hold us back. And each module is specifically designed to help you get unstuck. So that my belief is, and my promise, because God has given us this promise, is that once you can really master these 7 things, you can make any of these strategies work. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life, right? And so if that is something that you guys are curious about, you want to know more about things, you're just like, okay, it doesn't matter if you've been in personal development for a long time, because Molly and Jan, you guys have been doing this foundations, like you're very experienced in this space, but there's also like, it's a very step by step. So even if you are new, it's very easily to follow. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. And so I got you. And if you wanted to just start with the foundations, you guys, it's like a super, super low price point, like super low price point. So we got you, because I want all of us to be able to live out our lives at the greatest capacity. I want all of us to be able to hear at the end of our lives, well done, good and faithful servant, because we're all given this beautiful potential and God gave it to us, all of us, each one of us. and it's up to us and what we do with that potential. And so let's start sharing our gifts with the world. Let's start showing up and showing off and doing the things to make the bigger impact. And I am so blessed to have you guys in my life, that you are part of my impact. You're my ripple effect. You are what makes me smile. And I can't wait to continue to see what God does through all of you guys. So thank you for being here tonight. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
And I don't know, we'll make sure that I put the social handles for each one of you guys in the show notes as well, just so that people can, follow your journey and connect with you. And I don't know, I didn't ask you guys ahead of time, but if anybody has questions about the real experience without me being here, I'm sure that you guys would be happy to answer questions too. So we just want to make the world better, guys. So make sure that you check all that out. Thank you, ladies, for being here. And I can't wait to see you probably a year from now, right? We're thinking
Hopefully
green.
we all see each other's faces before a year.
I think so too.
Yes.
All right, you guys, thanks for listening. And I will see you all next week on the Spiral Up podcast. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Each honest review helps me spiral up so that I can serve you even better. Whether you're feeling a lack of impact, income, or time freedom, or perhaps you're just ready for massive momentum in your business, let's chat. Apply for a breakthrough call so that you can gain clarity, identify what's holding you back, and make a plan to spiral up. Head on over to im-lifebydesign.com/breakthrough or access the link in the show notes. For immediate support, plug into our community, the Better Club. We focus on inspiration, tactical guidance, and support. This is a community that wants to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business, and we're going to help you do the same. Let's spiral up, friends.